Given an equation in standard form, you're going to have to identify the vertex. Given an equation in vertex form, you have to identify the vertex. You're going to have to be able to tell me the maximum and minimum and which way things open and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to do the basics today with just the vertex. And then we'll talk about more of the other stuff later that I know you guys all can handle, no problem. So in these first questions, excuse me, look at 9 through 16. 9, 10, 11, and 12 are already written in vertex form. Meaning you can just look at that and tell me what the vertex is. It's the opposite of what's in the parentheses. That's the x part of your vertex. And the number at the end, the constant, is your y part of the vertex. Now remind me yesterday, when we find the x part of the vertex, we're also finding the axis of symmetry. Good. When we find the y part of the vertex, we're finding the maximum or the minimum. Good. Okay, good. So in number 9, I'll write down here. In number 9, guys, tell me what the vertex is in number 9.
3, 1.
Positive 3, comma 1, yes? Mm-hmm. So my axis of symmetry, my AOS, is at x equals 3. And what kind of a parabola is this? Is this a positive one or a negative one? Positive. So it's opening which way? It's opening up. So that means I have a minimum value here or a maximum value? Minimum. So my minimum is at y equals what? 1. Perfect. You can tell all that stuff just by finding the vertex. So in number 10, what's my vertex? Positive 2, positive 12. Which way does this parabola open?
Up.
Number 10?
Oh, no, sorry, down.
Why does it open down?
Because
it's negative, right? So it opens down. So think about that. My axis of symmetry, my AOS, is at x equals 2. And I have a maximum or a minimum? A maximum. There's a high point on that graph, and it's at y equals 12. You guys with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's look at 11. What's my vertex in 11? Negative 1, positive 5. Which way does 11 open? Down. Good. So that means I have my axis of symmetry is at x equals negative 1. Do I have a maximum or a minimum?
Maximum.
There's a maximum at y equals 5. Good job. So if I look at 12, what's my vertex on 12?
Negative 4.
Negative 4, negative 8. Good. So my axis of symmetry is at x equals negative 4. Which way does 12 open?
Down.
Down, because it leads with a negative. So then I have my maximum or minimum?
Maximum.
Maximum at
Y equals negative 8.
negative 8. Anybody have questions? All right. Now the other ones are written in what kind of form?
Standard.
Standard. Okay, so I have 13 is 2x squared. Read 13 to me. 2x squared. Thank you. Minus 8x plus 3. We'll say equals 0. What does 14 say? 3x squared minus 12x plus 1. We'll say equals y. Make this y. So if I was going to ask you guys, which I didn't now, and we will later, but if I was going to ask you to find the x and y intercepts, how do I do that? Plug in 0. If I plug in 0 for y, I'm finding the x-intercept. If I plug in 0 for x, I'm finding the y. Okay? So here, if I'm going to find the vertex, this is in standard form. I gave you guys a little equation yesterday that's vertex. How do you find the vertex?
Negative b over 2a.
X equals negative b over 2a. Once we find what x is, what do I do with x?
Then you
Plug it in to find y. Good. So, this is my a, 2 is my a, negative 8 is b, and c is 3, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have x equals negative 8 over 2 times 2. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
So 8 divided by 4 is 2. So the x part of my vertex is 2. How do I find the y?
You plug it in now.
Plug it in. So I have 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 3. 2 squared is?
4.
And 4 times 2 is?
8.
So I have 8 minus
Negative 16.
16 plus 3. What's 8 minus 16? plus 3 is? So my vertex is at 2, comma, negative 5. Agreed? What's my axis of symmetry? 2. Is this a positive parabola? Does it open up or is it negative?
Open up.
It opens up because the 2 is positive. So do I have a minimum value or a maximum value?
Minimum.
At?
Y equals negative 5.
Good. Very good. All right, let's do this one. We're in standard form, so I have to say x equals negative b over 2a. A is 3, b is negative 12, c is 1. So I have negative 12 over 2 times 3. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So I have my vertex is at 2, comma, find y. I'm going to plug in 2. So 3 times 2 squared minus 12 times 2 plus 1. What's 2 squared? And 4 times 3 is 12. What's negative 12 times 2? Negative 24 plus 1. What's 12 minus 24? Negative 12 plus 1 is? So y equals negative 11. So my vertex, guys, is at 2, negative 11. My axis of symmetry is at x equals 2. And do I have a maximum or a minimum? A minimum, because this opens up, and it's at y equals what? You look at the first term. If it's positive, it opens up. If it's negative, it opens down. Okay, good. I'm not going to do all of these to bore you guys, but I would like to do... No. We're not going to do all of them. I want to do 16, 25, and 26. So if you can read 16 to me. Negative 2x squared plus 8x minus 1. Okay? How is this one a tiny bit different? It's the negative. Okay? We know it opens down. Your A is negative, B is positive, C. So I have x equals negative 8 over negative 2 times 2, right? Yes, so negative 8 divided by negative 4 gives me positive 2. And then what do I do with the 2? Plug it in to find the y. All right, where you're going to make mistakes is just not paying attention to signs. The formula is negative b over 2a. Some of you will see that it's already negative, so you don't put it, but 2 negatives actually make a positive, so you got to just be careful with that. What I want to bring to your attention is when we talk about intercepts, if I was going to find the y-intercept, right, the y-intercept, I would plug in 0 for x. Just by looking at this, guys, what's the y-intercept? Negative 1. Because if you plug in 0 for x, you get negative 2 times 0 squared plus 8 times 0. If you were to find the x-intercept, you guys would have negative 2x squared plus 8x minus 1 equals 0. Every time we find intercepts, whether it's a quadratic or something to the 4th power, whatever, which we're going to work on tomorrow, you're always going to factor. How is this difficult to factor just like it is? Because it leads with a what? Negative. Whenever you guys have to factor and it leads with a negative, the first thing you should do is take out the negative 1. In a sense, what am I doing to everything?
So you're
going to change all the signs. This becomes 2x squared minus 8x plus 1 equals 0, right? Everybody with me? Okay. So now I'm just going to factor. What is the rule for factoring when a is not 1? Okay, 2 times 1 is 2. Are there factors of 2 that'll multiply to give me 2 but add to give me 8? No. So how would I do this? What's
take off
the quadratic formula? You guys all know how to do it. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen on the quiz, but it's a possibility. But if you have to use the quadratic formula, if something doesn't factor, you guys just have to be aware of that. Okay, I'm just saying. I know it's not great, but that's going to still come back up. So you got to pay attention to that. If I look at these other two that I wanted to do, if I were you, I would rewrite these. How would you rewrite this? If I would rewrite 25. Okay, y equals. I don't like that 4 in the front. and that x minus 1 in the back. Because if you guys were going to tell me what the vertex is, some of you would mess this up. Rewrite it so the x minus squared is first, and that 4 is in the back. Where does that negative sign go? It goes with, not the 4. It's right here. What kind of a 4 is that? You guys see that? This is what kind of a parabola, negative or positive? It's negative. But you guys may not initially see that if you left it how it's originally written. This is a negative parabola. It's going to open which way? Down. This tells you it's going to open down. What's the vertex for this? Positive 1, positive 4. Your axis of symmetry is at x equals 1. Do you have a maximum or a minimum?
A maximum.
Maximum at what?
4.
4. Y equals 4. So same thing here. If it's not written in the way that you're used to seeing it, I would definitely rewrite it. How would you rewrite this one? Y equals? Negative x minus 3 quantity squared plus 1. Good. So now your vertex you can see is at what?
3 and 1.
3, 1. Which way does it open? Down because it's negative. Good. So you guys see that? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on your quiz, the first question is going to say, identify the following. You're going to have to tell which direction the parabola opens. You're going to have to tell me what the vertex is. You're going to have to tell me what the axis of symmetry is, what the maximum or minimum is, and the x and y intercepts. All stuff you guys know how to do. We good? We okay? All right, so what I want you to start on now